Check this out.
Got your stools right there with you.
Sweet, dude.
That is nice.
So just last week, I built this pergola for my buddy's grilling space, and I realized as I was rolling out his smoker that this space is looking pretty sparse. So today we're gonna be fixing that by adding some work surface and just making this the grilling space that he can enjoy. So what I'm thinking to make this space a little bit more functional as a grilling space is, first off, some sort of like grilling cart. And initially I thought about like a dining table out here, a place to kind of sit down and eat, but honestly the pad is just a little bit too small, and I worry that this would kind of encroach on just everything else. So maybe we can kind of make this grilling cart double as a dining table, but then we wouldn't have a space to set things out. So we'll kind of have to come up with a solution for that as well. So let's go ahead and head on back to the shop and we'll work on the cart itself, and then maybe we can come up with another idea for some other shelf space. For the top of the cart, we're gonna be using cedar. I was able to find this is 2x6 cedar, and I think not only is it gonna look good, but it's going to naturally resist rot and insects and all that stuff, and it will be a safe work surface for the grilling cart. So we've got 8-foot boards. I'm gonna try and make this as long as I can with these boards. 3 of these together is going to give us 16.5 inches, double that since we're gonna cut them in half, and that'll give us 33 inches. So we've got 96.25. So we'll just go ahead and cut them in half right now. So we'll just draw a center line at half of that, which is 48.125, and we'll get these cut down for the top. Now before I get started, just to make sure I don't get any dust particles, I'm gonna be using my Base Camp dust mask. All right, so this is kind of what our top's gonna look like. I think that's gonna be a great work surface, a good size to be able to do everything you need beside a smoker. So now that we've got these cut, we can get some finish on those, but first I'm gonna start by cutting down all the 2x4s for the base. Again, like I said, treated lumber for the base because we want this thing to be kind of bulletproof, and I'm gonna be staining it as well. So the base is gonna be a different color, nice little contrast between the top and the base. I think it'll look sharp. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut down everything. I've got my cut list here, but I will have the plans available for all of you guys for this cart / surprise. So I've got all of my lumber cut, and the treated lumber for the base, like I said, is going to get a stain, and that's a semi-solid stain, and the top is gonna get a finish coat. Now, my lovely wife has volunteered to do that for me, so we're gonna go ahead and get that set up over in the grass, and she can work on that, but I'm gonna head back over to the pergola because I've got an idea to make this space even more versatile. Let's head over there. All right, I came up with an idea, and what I'm thinking is if we could integrate some sort of shelf just into these posts so that it spanned the whole way, this would be a ton of just area to be able to kind of just set things out and enjoy the space. You know what I mean? Like if you're grilling and you got food and you want to set that out, you can do that here and still have your cart and your dining table. So I've got some lumber, and I'm thinking we can build some sort of a frame here and then just kind of cap that with deck boards. That would be a simple way to add some more shelf space. So I'm gonna get cracking on that, and you guys can just enjoy this little montage. So the other day I was actually thinking, since this thing is a 10-foot by 10-foot cube, I could actually use one of these sunshades over here. The sun kind of comes across the sky like this and sets over here. So being able to block this out, especially in the evening, I think is gonna be super helpful. So I reached out to Simpson Strong-Tie and they sent me another sunshade. So I'm gonna be putting that up right now. And honestly, I think this work surface or buffet, whatever you want to call it, turned out really good. And I think that sunshade is just going to give you even more shade for the food and whatnot, so you're not just having everything hang out directly in the sun. So I'm going to get started on that now. Okay, so this really turned out nice. I really like this shelf. I think this is gonna be a great buffet slash workspace, and the shade provides a bunch of extra shade naturally because that sunset over there and whatnot. I think this space is really coming together. So let's head back to the house and we're gonna finish up that cart and get that back. So when it comes to the assembly of this cart, it's gonna be a super simple assembly. We're just gonna start by building the structure that's gonna support the top. And I've actually got these DSV wood screws from Simpson Strong-Tie, which come in black. We're gonna be using these black screws. They also come in tan for if you're just using raw wood, but we'll be using them to hide them in this base. So we'll just start by assembling this whole thing together with 3-inch wood screws. And we're just gonna get this center stringer and attach that. Now I'm gonna attach the legs to the sides. This is it's gonna hide the cut end of that 2x4. So I think this should give us a pretty good look. But I've got a little secret for these legs, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to install some casters on the bottom. I found these casters on Amazon, and the thing that I like about them is that they actually lock. They go in, I'm gonna have to put a little threaded insert in there, but they lock so that they can swivel when they're free, and when they lock, not only does it lock the wheel, but it can't swivel. So right now, I'm just going to drill some holes into these legs. And this is I believe this is a 7/16 inch bit, but I'll link to the casters in the description below. All right, let's flip this bad boy over and bring it over here. Okay, now I've still got to put in the kind of the base area, but with this cart, I didn't want to have a lower shelf because I just feel like those don't get used. So this is going to double as a table as well, and we're just going to be doing the top and then have just a middle stringer down here somewhere to kind of hold everything together. Man, that cedar looks so good. So initially I was thinking of using tan fasteners on the top, but honestly, I kind of like the contrast. So I'm gonna stick with the black fasteners, and I think that's gonna look sharp. The only thing is when I space these, because they're gonna have that contrast, I really need to lay them out perfectly so that all of the screw heads are nice and evenly spaced. All right, so I'm just gonna start by marking out where these screws need to go. Usually I'd use this, Craig makes a nice little multi-mark tool, but I, for some reason, have misplaced it. So we're just gonna go around this table and mark out all the screw locations. All right, let's get to screwing. I'm gonna start by kind of going around the corners, getting everything where I want it. Try and pay a little bit more attention to detail as far as like getting these screws just right at the right depth so they're nice and flush with the top. So the idea is that you can use this as a work surface, but you can also roll it out and still be able to use it as a little outdoor dining table. You can get 2 seats up here or 1 on each side and 1 on the ends. Now, since this is counter height, this is 36 inches off the ground, we had some counter height stools laying around that I'm gonna be using for this. And the other thing is, while you're rolling it around, I didn't wanna have the stools to be kind of in the way. You'd have to move them all out of the way and whatnot. So I'm gonna come up with a storage solution for the stools, which is kind of why I've waited on the base. And I want them to kind of just hang underneath of the tabletop. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna go back over here. I've got some pieces here, and that's what I'm thinking. If I can get this board kind of mounted under here and put some hooks on it, then I'll be able to just hang those stools underneath of this and have them kind of rest against that lower stringer. So let's go ahead and get these screwed together and we'll install them underneath the top. So essentially I'm gonna create these little T's that are gonna go underneath of the top and mount to the top from the bottom. All right, so I'm gonna try and kind of get these, as long as they're centered this way, which I know this center seam is the center, and kind of evenly spaced, obviously. I want them to be pretty. These are 2.5, just to make sure we don't go through the top. Okay, so this is going to be more or less, I don't know what good name for it, but we'll call it like a cleat. This is where I'm gonna put some hooks on this, and those will hold our stools. Definitely overkill, but you never know. Okay, so obviously everything's upside down right now, but our stools are kind of store like that. I'm just kind of placing this here so I can get an idea of spacing, where my hooks need to go. They're gonna need to go like right there and right there, basically on either side of that block. Okay, so I just bought some cheap hooks from the box store. And like I said, we're just gonna be installing those to hold those chairs. Oh man, these screws are terrible. Jeez, that's stripped out. These screws are garbage. We're gonna have to go with something different. I wasn't really satisfied with those screws, or the hooks rather, that I was working on yesterday. So I went to the store and got some new hooks. I'm not totally in love with these either, honestly, but I think they'll do the trick. However, I will find some hooks that I think would work best, and I'll make sure to link those in the description. My problem with these are that they're metal. The other ones were metal too, but I did find some hooks, kind of like a double utility hook for like a garage or something like that. I think those would work out really well because they're rubber coated, so it won't be metal on metal. The stools won't slide as much and make a bunch of noise when you're moving it around. Whoops. So my idea here is to get these hooks in that way. Then I can hang my stool and kind of figure out where I need my little eye support. All right, so this guy, so basically I want the bottom legs of these stools to rest on that. So I'm just gonna get this roughly in place and then I'll take some measurements. That looks good, man. Lower. Yeah, somewhere in there. Okay, I'm gonna take some measurements, get this right where I want it, and then we'll secure this lower piece into place, put some hooks on the other side, and we're done. All right, I got the stools on here and it looks really good. I kind of planned this, I will say. But I love that the stools don't really stick out past the edge of the counter, so they're nice and tucked up in there. The black on black kind of mutes the stools a little bit. My only worry is that with the metal hooks and these stools being metal, they're gonna slide around when I roll it and fall off. So I'm gonna test that now. this one slid a little bit. Not bad though. That's actually worked out better than I thought. So honestly, I feel like if we just added a little electrical tape around those hooks, that would be enough friction to prevent them from, you know, sliding like that. But even if they do, it's not the end of the world, whatever. So again, those rubber hooks, I'll link those in the description so that you guys won't have that issue. But let's get that over there and see how it looks. Man, this is perfect. What a nice space. Got plenty of good workspace over here. I've actually got a cutting board for him too. So we don't mess up the cedar, we'll put the old cutting board right here, which will be a really nice work surface for his smoker. All right, let's go grab the chairs.
All right, Scott?
Yeah, I got him a big old cutting board.
Didn't even know it.
Yeah, I mean, and the nice thing is he can move this over here.
Sure. That turned out really nice.
Yeah,
Impressive.
nice big work surface, Dave. Got you a big old cutting board too, so you can get your whole brisket on there.
Sweet.
Yeah, but check this out.
Oh, sweet, dude.
That is nice.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool, man.
I just figured,
This is perfect.
Yeah.
Even if you're just waiting on it, you know?
yeah.
You know, you're just hanging out.
I really love the design of this cart, and having that shelf and shade has made a huge difference out here, but it's also given me a lot of good ideas for future projects. If you guys have any, leave them in the comments, and until next time, be safe and happy building.